Have you ever wondered why we have the same routine, the Mass, every single week, when other denominations, they switch it up? They have sermons and then communion services and then prayer services and even rock concerts, right? Like, why don't we do that? My name is Jacob Hubbard, and this is Freedom Chapter 29, brought to you by Incarnate Ministries, based out of St. Thomas Aquinas in Pilot Point, Texas. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for another day. So excited to be sharing this message with you all. So today's entire chapter is about the liturgy. And liturgy can simply be defined as public worship, but it's so important for us to understand that there is such a massive lesson that the Lord wants to teach us through liturgy, even today, through the liturgy that we go to, Mass. So today's chapter talks about the sacrifices that the priests have to do every single day, the public liturgies, which is simply public worship that they did daily. So every single day, they offered a burnt offering in the morning and in the evening. And there was a candle that was burning outside the tabernacle that always stayed lit to represent that God was always with his people. Much like the tabernacle candle that we have, the red one, that we play at the end of the videos even, that represents that God is there in the tabernacle today. But why do they have to offer these burnt offerings? Did God like that pleasing odor that much? I mean, who doesn't love the smell of meat on the grill? You can't blame them. But it wasn't just about them sacrificing every morning and day to God just for the sake of this pleasing odor, right? I think we get a really good insight into why this liturgy happened daily at verse 45 of this chapter. And it says, I will dwell among the sons of Israel and will be their God. And so liturgy, it keeps their mind, the mind of every Israelite, on God, especially the priests. He has to offer something every single day, every single evening, and there's this candle that burns all the time that they have to continue to upkeep and replace. The people's minds were constantly on God. And that's so important because it made them realize that that's like the point of their lives, is to be encountered by God. Like, they need to contemplate God. He needs to be part of their experience in the ordinary through liturgy. And liturgy was kind of the sign by which they were to understand that God was with them in the ordinary. And it's the same for us today. It's not that God only appears to us through the Mass, but he does so in the Mass, in the ordinary, which is the same thing. Like, when we go to Mass, it's the same exact Mass that has happened for hundreds of years, pretty much. I mean, there's some variations here and there. But the same thing happens over and over and over again every single day. And it can kind of get boring. Maybe because the point of it isn't to be entertained. And the point of our lives as a whole isn't to be entertained, but instead to be encountered, right? Like, that we don't come to Mass to be entertained by some amazing things that the Lord is going to do, by funny preaching. We come there to experience God, who's extraordinary, acting through the ordinary. And that can actually help us to have a perspective change in our entire lives, to where we start seeing that the purpose of life isn't to go out and do extraordinary things. It isn't to go and experience extraordinary experiences for the sake of themselves and to get that rush, that adrenaline high or anything like that. The purpose of life is not to be entertained. It's to be encountered in the ordinary. And that can happen at any time. That's what the Mass shows us. That's what daily liturgy reveals to us, is that in the ordinary, in whatever it is that we're doing, even when we're watching TV, when we're at home and spending time with the family, when we're at work, when we're stuck in traffic, when we're making food, when we're in our heads, even when we're sleeping, God can be there encountering us. Every single moment he can encounter us. There's nothing that prevents him from working through whatever circumstance we're in to speak to us in that moment. It's just us that close our ears to listen to him and choose to just experience that moment apart from him, right? Instead, we should be inviting the Lord into everything that we do. There's a famous Latin quote that translates to, wherever you go, there you are. And it sounds so self-evident, but it's actually a really profound truth. And that wherever we go, whatever thing we want to experience, whatever vacation we want to take, whatever thing we look forward to, whatever next extraordinary rush or thrill that we are living for, even if it's some goal far off, like getting married or having a family or getting that job, we're still going to be there. We're still going to be the same person that's going to have these same issues and lies and belief problems and whatever it is, the same struggles, and of course the same blessings and the same grace that's working through us as well, right? But wherever we go, there we are. And so the purpose of life isn't to run away into the next extraordinary thing, which is really just distraction. I'd like to change that quote. Wherever we go, there he is. And we can know that by reading Psalm 139, which is one of the most beautiful psalms in Scripture. And it talks about how wherever we go, whatever we run to, in everything that we do, he knows us. He knit us together in our mother's womb. There's nothing that we can do that is apart from God's knowledge and apart from his desire to dwell with us and for us to experience him in the ordinary and to encounter him and thereby actually be filled with the desires or the love that we desire ultimately. And so to begin to be filled with what we actually desire, it's so important that we structure our ordinary lives around hearing God. And so that's today's challenge, is just to write out a structure by which you can abide to every single day that helps you recognize his voice. Some things that I really recommend that we've talked about before: starting your day off with a prayer of surrender or offering or thanksgiving. Ending your night with a nightly examine. Spending time at meals rather than just praying that prayer that we all pray really quickly. Take 30 seconds and just breathe. And just be with the Lord. Just in small moments like that, and you'll see how much more fulfilling every single day is. Because Christianity, often it isn't about changing the extrinsic things, but it's about changing us interiorly, and then we change the extrinsic world around us. But that can never happen if we first are not interiorly transformed, right? And so that transformation happens daily in the ordinary. There's a phenomenal book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, and I highly recommend it. And in that, he talks about how we have a relationship with God, and relationships, they're not effective time-wise. Like we invest so much time into them, and it's only one conversation, one moment that really gets through to us that we really remember. And so it's so paramount that God, who calls us into relationship, has that time to operate in us where he can whisper every single day to us, rather than like being forced into just like 30 minutes or an hour on a Sunday, right? So that we have time to listen to his voice every single day. So today's challenge again, build a structure around God. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.